Hey, it's Bob Brown. Happy Thanksgiving. Uh, just a couple thoughts on the Standing Rock Sioux problem on Thanksgiving Day. And this is a tragedy on a lot of levels. It's just kind of an overall tragedy. But I think I want to bring my dad his idea of the hidden leadership. And this isn't his. He got it because he was in the military. He understood. It's trying to understand who are the hidden leaders. And I think what you're seeing at Standing Rock is a problem that when the company, and this is total supposition, I don't have any proof of this whatsoever, but it just seems that this is what happened. That when the company was negotiating, they had to negotiate the rights with the tribe, I assume. I don't know, maybe they didn't, but I think they did. And I'm assuming that they might have negotiated with the tribal elders, the tribal leaders. But the big problem was, and this is the warning to most business people, is you got to make sure you know who the real leaders are in an organization, the hidden leaders. These are the people. And I think in this case, this was the millennial people, the children of the baby boomers, the echo boomers, that are very politically active. They're very politically active in many ways as the baby boomers were in the early days. This is kind of like, history may not repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. So the baby boomers, the echo boomers, the millennials, they have kind of taken up that concept of activism. So I think what happened, and I'm just talking hypothetically, and I'm not taking sides on this, although I do stand with the Sioux, the water keepers, because I think there's human rights violations, concussion grenades, water cannons. This is beyond unnecessary. I mean, where is the negotiating? Where is the federal government? Where is the tribal? Where is the Indian Affairs Bureau? Where are they? I don't know. We pay for them, but they don't seem to be doing a good job. But I think this is more for a business person. It's like the misperception was, who am I dealing with? Well, it says I'm dealing with the tribal elders. But this is a term you have to get used to, and it's a term that's so counterfactual, so counterintuitive, it's kind of hard to understand. It's called, people say that we now live in a post-fact world. What the hell is a post-fact world? And I'm an old guy. What the hell is a post-fact world? Post-fact world is facts don't always matter. What are you talking about? What do you mean facts don't matter? They don't matter. They don't. In some cases. I mean, they do, but they don't. You have to manage the perception. The perception is, and in this case, the perception is that no matter what that company said, that pipeline was not safe. And let's face it, there have been so many disasters with pipelines, so many disasters. British Petroleum blew up the entire, Gulf of Mexico, and has damaged it, untold damage. With the sinking of the Deepwater Horizon, no one trusts you anymore. So it's once that trust has been ruptured, you're in this weird post-fact world that no matter what you say, people just won't believe you. They won't accept the information you're giving them. You can put scientific fact after scientific fact. The problem is you have to manage the perception. And the perception is these people will lie to us no matter what. I can't say that I blame them. I can't really say that I blame them on that. So in this post-fact world, you have to manage perception. You have to look at who are you dealing with. See, a person with facts says, well, this is the tribal leader. I guess I'm dealing with the tribal leader. It says I'm dealing with the tribal leader. Hey, I'm only doing what I have to do. And I go about my business. It didn't work in this case. Because the millennials, I will bet you money on it, the millennials are the ones who are the ones saying, we don't want this. We don't want any part of this. They are the hidden leaders. The millennials are the up-and-coming leaders. They're going to supplant the baby boomers very shortly. They're going to roll over the Gen Y and Xers because they're a much larger demographic group. And they're taking over. They are already exerting their power everywhere. And in the Standing Rock scene, that's what you're seeing. I think that company thought they were negotiating with the right leadership. And they may have been, on paper, the leaders. I don't know this for a fact. This is just suppositions. This is hypotheticals. But the people at that protest, they're the real leaders. They're the millennials. They're the political activists that are doing it. And the millennials are really the echo boom. They're the echo of the baby boomers, me. They're the echoes of the baby boomers. And just like the baby boomers of old, they're very politically active. It'd be kind of interesting. I probably won't live to see it. Seeing if the millennials, who are kind of now like more like the flower children of the 60s, suddenly turn conservative later on. And in some ways they have with Trump, but that's another story. So for companies, you have to understand, who are you really dealing with? And I don't think many companies understand that. And you live in this weird post-fact world. So look up post-fact. Understand that it's not just about what the law says, your spreadsheet says. It's about managing the perception of the people that you're going to impact. Are you perceived as a good company? Are you perceived as trustworthy people? Are you perceived as honest people? Are you perceived as, good stewards of the earth? And if you're not, even though you can show on paper, it doesn't matter, because the perception in people's minds trumps that. And you couple that with the amplification power of social media, and this is what you get. I think it's a tragedy on all levels. The New York City student who had her arm blown off. I mean, why would the police use concussion grenades and water cannons? I mean that boggles the mind that they're doing that. See, again, you're not managing the perception right. You're now seen as an aggressive North Korean style regime, harming these people who are basically saying we want our tribal land protected. At the end of the day, if those people don't want this thing here, it's not going to really be there. And that's the problem. People are exerting individual sovereignty on a level that we haven't seen before. See, there was this trend towards centralization, but people have seen that all that does is that their rights go away. That's why Brexit happened. That's why the Brexit wave started. People rejected, having, disembodied bureaucrats in Brussels run everything. And they've done a horrible job. That Brexit wave hit the United States with the Trump phenomena. And now it's hitting the local people, and like the Standing Rock Sioux are saying, hey, we are a tribal nation. We're going to exert our rights as well. So you're seeing this spiral back into the individual having sovereignty. And as a business, you need to understand that people see that you're infringing on my personal sovereignty, and I won't like it anymore. That even goes inside the organization now. The hierarchical organizations, the top-down organizations that baby boomers are used to, they're going away. They're going to disappear. You're going to have to deal with a very different organizational structure, both within and without your business. And this Standing Rock Sioux is a watershed moment where people are going to say, we're not going to be mistreated anymore. The government's trying to push this hierarchical top-down, and the corporations are trying to push it down on these people. You're making it worse. Give it up. Because number one, there's 20 billion gallons of shale oil discovered in the Permian Basin in Texas. That's putting a tremendous down pressure on everything. This project is a money loser now. And the company that started this, they actually had to sell themselves because the damages against them are so much. This New York student's arm to get blown off, what do you think the lawsuit on that's going to be? It's going to be crippling. What do you think the lawsuit that the Standing Rock Sioux are going to levy against the government, the local governments, and the companies involved? It's going to be crippling. Crippling. You're going to be crippled as an organization. Please, as a business people, look at Porter's 5 forces systems. Understand that we're in a different world. We're in a very different world. It's not the world of the spreadsheet anymore. I'm not saying the spreadsheet isn't important. But you got to manage perception, both within and without your organization. If you don't manage that perception, it's going to manage you. And you're going to end up like this company in the Dakotas. They're pretty much done. I mean, career-wise, these people are done also. I mean, it didn't have to happen this way. It could have been done. People could have sat down at a negotiating table. I could have said, bring your leadership. And I'd also said, I want you to bring your younger people who are going to be your leaders in the future. I need them here as well. Because if they're not on board, then this isn't going to work. The millennials are going to assert their rights in much the same way that we had with the flower children in the 60s. But these are a different breed. They're a lot smarter. They're a lot more intelligent. They're a lot more educated. They're underemployed. And they have social media technology to intercommunicate globally at a moment. So there's this weird phenomena. and I'll end on this point. So with millennials, you have to understand that they're very different than the baby boomers, the World War II guys that raised us. They're even different than the Gen Xers and the Gen Yers. They're very different. And I know they take a lot of flack, but in reality, they're living in a world that is very unfair. I mean, the Iraq War was a catastrophe. I mean, 9/11, they live in a very different world than we grew up in. We grew up in a baby boomer. We grew up in a very safe world. The World War II generation handed us, security and safety. I think we squandered that. And we handed the millennials a pretty raw deal. And that raw deal is what they're fighting against now. So as a business, we have to understand that millennials, within and without our organization, and they're going to be our customers, they're going to be our largest customer base very soon. We've got to know how to deal with them. And if you want to learn anything from the Standing Rock disaster, you want to learn how this company did not manage them properly, and how that, in fact, turned into a complete disaster that pretty much forced that company to sell itself to another company or merge to survive. So again, water cannons aren't going to make millennials on your side. You're going to galvanize millions and millions more of them against you. And right now, this disaster in North Dakota was brought on by business people and the government who did not understand the millennial political activism, the environmental concerns. They didn't understand the culture of the Sioux Nation. Maybe they should have read Black Elk Speaks. I'd recommend that. You might want to read to understand the culture. Culture is everything now. It's everything. They needed to understand the Sioux culture as well. They didn't understand that. They're looking at balance sheets, looking at, P&L, and they think that's all there is. We live in a post-fact world. We have to understand that as a business. That doesn't mean you don't pay attention to the P&L. You do. But you have a lot more on your dashboard to look at now. You have to understand culture. You have to understand my demographics. You have to understand the environmental concerns, the ecological concerns. You have to learn the impact on the community. And more importantly, how do I manage all these different contending forces? It's a giant system. Peter Singe's work on systems thinking is what you need to look at. I know this was a heavy message to send to you on Thanksgiving, but I think businesses need to know that this is what's coming at them. And you better take a total different look of how your business operates. You say, well, this doesn't, even a small business needs to understand this. This has been Bob Brown, and try to have a happy Thanksgiving.